The minutes from our August 13th meeting. Motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Those minutes are now part of the public record. Donna, correspondence. Donna, you're on mute.
Okay. There are several pieces of correspondence on tonight's agenda. There's a thank you note from Ms. Hernandez regarding the work of the district to open schools. There are numerous emails from the BHEA regarding their concerns about the opening of school plans. There is also a petition signed by BHEA members regarding opening schools under Plan B. Additionally, we have two concerns with the remote learning option. We have two emails from parents concerned about busing in Cinnamon Ridge, and we have one email from the Hughes PTO regarding their generous donation.
Thank you, Donna. I want to provide a little context on the correspondence, because if you're looking at the agenda, there's quite a lot of items. I'll address two of the items. Board members received a total of 69 emails from BHEA members over the past couple of weeks. In those 69 emails, 66 of the 69 were the exact same form letter that was written to the Board of Education, and 3 of those 69 were individual notes that had a personal note attached to them. So when you look at that list, I want to provide that additional context. Second, when you look at the list of the BHEA petition that was filed, there were 192 signatures to that petition, and there are 362 total members. So a total of 53% of the people of the BHEA signed that petition, and the remaining 47% did not sign that. Moving on to the report of the superintendent, Dr. Varley.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see. Good evening. These past few days have been very exciting. I can say that the majority of the students I encountered were so thrilled to be back in school and have some sense of normalcy. I'm also happy to report that our 3-year-olds were able to keep their masks on. We are hearing a great amount of feedback from the parents on the hybrid model, so please give us some time to work out the kinks. The teachers are working hard to teach both in-person and remote students, and I want to thank the teachers and the students for all their patience. A huge thank you goes out to the BHEF, our Ed Foundation, for purchasing wireless headsets and microphones for our teachers. We understand that some of our students are having a hard time hearing our teachers, so this is phenomenal. And in other great news, we are opening Governor Livingston on September 21st. By Monday, September 14th, parents and students will have concrete news as to how the schedule will look and how the day will run. I know everyone is anxiously waiting for the news. We have had to look into moving some classrooms to give students and teachers more space, as well as balancing the cohorts. Keep an eye out for this news. I know you're tired of hearing about the health forms. However, we only have 4 hours with your children. If you can please fill out the form every day, first thing in the morning, it helps your child get a full half day of learning, and it helps us move about our day. While you only have your children in your household, the nurses can get inundated with up to 25 students waiting to fill out the help forms. Until we get close to 100% compliance, you will continue to hear from me early in the morning. Thank you for all your patience and understanding. I would like, Mike, if you would please promote Thomas Burke. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our new student liaison, Thomas Burke. Thomas is an excellent student who has selected a rigorous AP track for his coursework, including 3 AP courses during his sophomore year and 5 AP courses for his junior year. His academic record boasts a weighted GPA of 4.76 and his unweighted GPA is 4.27. He has been involved in student government, serving as a class officer each year at GL. Thomas is a member of the JSA, TSA, and FBLA, as well as a member of the golf team. He volunteers with Interact, Student Auxiliary, and the First T Raritan Valley, where he teaches golf to beginner students. After high school, Thomas hopes to study financial engineering or a quantitative version of economics in college. I want to take this time to welcome Thomas to the Board of Education. So thank you, Thomas, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And that is it for the superintendent's report. We do have Brianna Kagan, but do we want to move to the student representatives now or have Brianna go first?
Let's do Brianna first, and then we'll go to the students.
Okay. Mike, can you promote Brianna, please?
We already got her.
Oh, there she is. I see her now. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi, Brianna. I know you shared a presentation with me. Do you want to now talk to the board? You have their full attention.
Yes, I've prepared a speech. I don't have like a slides presentation. I didn't know if I would have enough time.
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Varley, Mr. Reinstein, members of the Board of Education, and ladies and gentlemen of the community watching from home. My name is Brianna Kagan, and I am a senior at Governor Livingston High School this year. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the members of the Board of Education and Governor Livingston administration for all of your hard work and the complicated and intricate return of school this year. As a senior, I am deeply grateful for the hard push to be at least partially back in person this year. Before I begin my formal proposal, I would like to tell you all a story. 6 years ago, there was a little girl who attended Columbia Middle School and was constantly harassed by her classmates. It felt like anything she did was wrong, and there was no escaping this. When she reported this to administration, it was filed as a harassment, intimidation, and bullying case, but no real action was taken against the perpetrators, and therefore the issues continued. 1 year later, the harassment continued, and she reported it once again. This time, when no action was taken, the bullying got worse. The next year, when she felt like there was nowhere to go, she also felt like no one would care if she reported it, since no one had in the past 2 years. As I'm sure you guys can infer, this little girl was me, and I know there are many other people in the Berkeley Heights School District with similar experiences. This story has nothing to do with COVID or the return to school, but it does pertain to the early experience I had in Berkeley Heights School District that made me feel that administration does not care about me or any student for that matter. Admittedly, with any administration, no matter the structure, there will be critics. However, this reason is why I have come to you all with this proposal today. Over the past few days, I conducted an independent study with 80 members of Governor Livingston, which included participants of all 4 grades. There were 3 questions asked of my peers. The first question was, as of right now, I believe the Board of Education and Governor Livingston administration truly cares about my feelings, thoughts, opinions, and how I am doing. It was an agree or disagree question. 63.7% of participants disagreed with this statement, 30% agreed, and 6.3% stated that they did not care. The second question was, do you feel more student advocacy is needed at Governor Livingston? An overwhelming majority of participants at 85% voted yes, 6.3% voted no, and 8.8% voted that they either did not care or did not have an opinion on the matter. The most intriguing question of the survey, however, was what ideas participants had on how to change this stigma. Answers ranged from forward emails to the students that are sent to the parents, to detailed responses about mental health and experiences with remote learning, which I would love to go more in depth with you all at a later time. Moreover, the most common response with the survey conducted was that more student visibility groups and position must be made available to students. I read through the last 9 years of Board of Education minutes posted on the BHPSNJ website, and it seems that the student representatives, while an important position, mainly overview what the students are doing at Governor Livingston, rather than how the students at Governor Livingston are doing. I propose that a new student group be created in addition to these two positions. The name of the group will be titled The Next Generation, or TNG for short. This group would be comprised of 5 executive members, 1 senior spokesperson, a senior representative, a junior representative, sophomore representative, and freshman intern, as it is difficult to speak on experiences that are so limited. These students would meet bi-weekly and discuss any ailments or praises of administration that can be fixed or changed. For instance, one of the largest issues that I have heard from my peers is that a full day, completely virtual, is not the most productive way to conduct remote learning. This group would meet and discuss issues and then would come prepared with a rough solution to the issue at the next Board of Education meeting. These positions would be chosen from applications rather than being chosen out of the entirety of the student body. Therefore, everybody has an equal opportunity to be accepted or denied. Applicants would include a copy of an unofficial transcript as per provided by the guidance department, disciplinary history, an essay on why he or she would be a valid candidate for their respective position, an interview with the member of administration, as well as an anonymous vote on applications chosen by a committee of teachers. According to the research I conducted, this group will be the first of its kind in the state and would serve as a model to ensure that students are included in the conversation about what happens to them. The name The Next Generation stems from the fact that this is exactly what this group is: the next generation of doctors, lawyers, teachers, and administrators who will have to advocate for not only themselves, but other people in the future. Before I conclude, I would love to tell you all a small anecdote. While I was developing this proposal, countless people said things such as, "They're not going to care. They have bigger problems than the students." This is the exact narrative I would like to change in Berkeley Heights. This committee I have proposed can open a whole new line of communication between students, teachers, and administration. And this change can change the atmosphere of attending school and make your students enjoy their experiences more. After all, we are the next generation. Thank you for your time, and I hope this is something that can be started in Berkeley Heights.
Great, Brianna, thank you very much. Dr. Wall, do you want to comment on that or add any other perspective?
So I do, Brianna, do you want to talk a little bit about how you felt it working? Like, I do remember in our conversation, you wanted to bring, have this group of committee to bring conversations to the board, which is why we have Thomas and Emily, right? They are the ones who are challenged to bring the board issues that that Governor Livingston is having, that the students feel. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So the difference between my program and the 2 student representatives that we have is that according to the 9 years of Board of Education minutes that I read on the BHPSNJ website, the student representatives mainly include information such as the boys tennis team won the match today, the girls soccer team is attending states this weekend, whereas this group would be more of a spokes group for the students of GL as a whole. Because my feeling is that while 2 representatives are great, and the representatives that I've seen over the past 3 years of my attendance at GL have done a fantastic job, 2 representatives to represent 965 students is not right. I think that more representative is definitely needed of the students. And the idea here is that also a lot of students at GL aren't aware of these 2 positions, and they are chosen by 1 teacher, I believe. So it omits students that would love to have the opportunity to speak with the board or are interested in going into a position similar to this. It omits them from the selection process. But the committee that I'm presenting is applications, so that way any student from any sector of Governor Livingston can apply and have their voice heard. But additionally, it's easier for a peer-to-peer contact to say, "Hi, I'm having this problem and administration hasn't helped me. How can you help me here?" than it is for a student to come sit at the Board of Education meeting and speak to all of you and say, "I'm having this problem, how can you help me?" That way it remains anonymous and it's more of a representative situation than a reporting situation.
So Brianna, thank you very much. I'll just offer my suggestion and I'll leave it up to Dr. Varley, but my view is, and I think what you've highlighted is that we have had this student representative program for many years, and how you describe it is quite accurate. But I don't think we've ever stopped and paused like you're asking us to do right now to really rethink the student representative program and really maybe reformulate it, maybe come up with a different representation model, come up with a different scope of what they should do. And I think you are asking all of the right questions of your peers, and I think of the administration. So my suggestion would be is work with Mr. Nixon, who administers this, and come back and figure out what's the right way to do this. I mean, I'm okay with adding another group, but maybe there's a better way to reformulate this. If we haven't looked at it in many years, maybe there's a better way for the students to engage with the board. And I don't know what it is, and I don't think it's really up for the board to figure out. I would love for you, the people you talk to, the administrative team, Dr. Varley, potentially Scott McKinney, who's had multiple roles in our district, and come back to us with an idea of a way to make this work. Maybe it's 2 groups, maybe it's 1 group, maybe it's a bigger group than just 2. I don't really want to sit here tonight and figure out what it is, but I'd love you and with Emily and Thomas this year to figure it out. Maybe by the next meeting we'll come back and there's another way to do this. How does that sound?
That sounds good. I just really wanted to highlight the fact that I also know a lot of my peers at Governor Livingston are very upset because we feel that we have not been listened to in any capacity when directing remote learning. I know that a lot of my peers are really struggling with the 7:45 to 2:45 fully virtual day. I know a lot of my peers have started developing headaches and migraines and all sorts of health conditions that are among those lines, and also mental health is a really big struggle. And while we are going back into Governor Livingston on September 21st, there are still bi-weeks that we are fully virtual. So one thing that I just want to urge the board as an individual, as a group to kind of do is, even if this group that I'm proposing here today isn't approved or anything of the sort isn't approved, at the very least, I feel that students in Berkeley Heights should be as informed or more informed than their parents, because at the end of the day, we are the ones that are enduring the decisions that the Board of Education and administration are making. And we seem to be the last ones to find out about everything. So it's really discerning as a student to feel like you're the last one to know about what's happening to you. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but as an individual, I've been upset about, you know, how at the very least the emails that are sent to parents should be sent to our district emails. But that's all that I have to say tonight.
Okay, well, you know, first of all, thank you for your energy. Thank you for passion. Thank you for your survey. I mean, it's students like you who bring things to us that can affect change. We like that. So I'm thrilled that you're part of the solution. You know, work with the people that we've talked about, come back to us. I'm looking around the boards. I'm seeing head shakes of other people here. So we love your energy and your passion and your enthusiasm. Let's figure out a way to make this work. And let's figure out a way to hopefully resolve some of the issues that you've just highlighted for us.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, but we can probably take care of some of this right now, which is, Dr. Varley, when you send letters to the parents, is there any reason why we couldn't send them to the student body at the same time?
Melissa, you're on mute. Start again.
We started that for snow days at the end of before the pandemic hit. I think it's something Mike and I'll just have to work out on how to add, and we'll have to choose what grade level we add students to, but it's not a problem. We can do that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly at the high school, I don't see any reason why we would send an email to the parents and not send it to the students as well. I agree with you. The third graders may be a little much to swallow. So age dependent, but certainly we're looking at. And Brianna, one thing I want to make sure you understand is that you don't need the board's approval to do what you want to do, right? If 5 of you, you put together a group of 5 people that are representative of each of the classes that you're talking about, and you show up at the meetings, you have to be allowed to speak. It's a law. So, you know, just like if this doesn't turn out the way you want it to, then just do it anyway. But I think it will turn out the way you want it to.
I appreciate that, Mr. Casana. It's something that I'm looking forward to working with my peers with, and it's also something that I'm looking forward to take a career up in. I'm looking to go into politics. So a program like this is a great way to kickstart that, and I really appreciate all of your time today and on July 30th.
Great, Brianna, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you back here again, I'm sure quite often. So thank you. Great. Dr. Varley, anything else for your superintendent report?
No, that concludes my superintendent report.
Okay, so we have our students on here. So Emily, we'll start with you. Good evening, welcome back to school. It's September. You're a senior?
Yeah, crazy.
Great.
Okay, I know I usually report on the sports, but before I get to that, just a little on the student side of things. Many were excited to hear that we have a chance to come back on the 21st. Even though this round of online learning was going much smoother than the spring, a chance to be in person is always a chance to take. As well, there's planned PSATs for juniors and ACTs at GL in October, which gives students, especially seniors that needed the test scores, some relief. We are all taking the time slow and cautious, but I will be the first one to say that I'm excited to see things returning to semi-normal. And flipping back to sports, with everything changing daily and school having been up in the air, athletes were anxiously awaiting the news of fall season. Preseason was delayed, but slowly started up following the guidelines. As well, Ann Clifton has assured that all of the protocols and announcements are updated daily on the GL Athletic website. Although seasons were shortened and there are less games than normal, all athletes are excited to have the chance to play at all, given that the spring season last year was cut short. Football starts practice tomorrow, and all their fall sports practice starts Monday, besides volleyball. Volleyball has been moved to a new season that has been created to start mid-February. There are some exciting games coming shortly, with senior night for soccer on the 4th of October and senior day for football on the 12th. So we hope to see you all there, and go GL.
Great, Emily, thanks very much. Thomas, welcome to the Board of Education. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
I don't want to know how good a golfer you are, because I just don't want to know that. But anyway, welcome. It sounds like you have had a great experience at GL so far. We welcome you to the board. We've had student reps for a long time, and I'm sure you'll follow in that tradition. So welcome, and share what you have tonight.
I just want to say thank you to all the Board of Education members for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited, and I have some plans to what to do in the future. But back to the club section of my report. It's undoubtedly true that this is a climate that no one has ever experienced before, and the latest transition of GL is now the clubs. Even before the school year started, Link Crew had their annual meeting where incoming freshmen had the opportunity to ask questions and take a tour with juniors and seniors. Unlike previous years, only the tour was done in person and the Q&A session was done remotely. National Honor Society has sent out applications to eligible juniors and seniors, with new members being announced in November. Other clubs like JSA are having to be creative in creating new events, as many of their main events, including Winter Congress, are unlikely to occur. The club has come up with some new ideas, such as a watch party for the presidential election through Zoom, which we discussed in tomorrow's meeting. The Math League will continue to host their monthly math challenges through Zoom, and the Highlander Band is practicing after school in preparation for the fall football season and hopefully the Battle of the Bands. Similarly, Hilltopper Plays is optimistic that they will be able to play in the fall and are considering doing a performance outside or virtually to make this happen. One aspect of clubs that has not changed is the Club Expo, where students get the chance to see and join the various clubs at GL. As the school year unfolds, clubs will likely find that Zoom is their main medium of connecting with each other and are working creatively to take full advantage of this experience. That's all.
Great, Thomas, thank you. Any questions for the board members for our student reps? Not any tonight, but I can assure you there'll be ones for the next meeting that we have. Okay, thank you to our students. Let's move on to our liaison reports. Are there any liaison reports tonight?
Okay, Union County Ed Services, the superintendent, Terry Foppert, has retired. Mike Kowalski, the assistant superintendent, is now the acting superintendent. They are going all remote until early October and will bring in some of the schools as they can get things in order for each of the schools. The Environmental Commission is concentrating on the idling law. They're still working on the accreditation for Silver Award and stormwater issues within the town. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you, Helen. Any other liaison reports tonight? Okay, facilities report, Donna.
In addition to preparing the buildings for the opening of school amid the pandemic, the following projects were completed this summer. Paving repairs were made at all of the schools. The exterior wall at GL was repaired. The chimney was repointed, and the retaining wall at Lower Columbia was repaired. New flooring was installed in the GL guidance office, tech office, and the home ec room. One bathroom at GL was retrofitted to become an ADA bathroom. Rooftop fans were repaired and replaced throughout the district. Bathroom stalls at the middle school girls' locker room and B-wing bathroom were replaced, and interior painting was done at all schools. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Donna. That brings us to our preliminary citizens hearing for this evening. I want to make a couple of comments about that, as we will have one citizens hearing like we have had in the past. After the last two meetings, we received quite a bit of feedback that the meetings had run quite long with a lot of duplicative questions being asked, and we were asked to, what can we do to speed up the process a little bit and make the meetings more efficient? So I have a couple of suggestions starting this evening. Number one, you'll still use your raise your hand functionality to be recognized. Once you're recognized, if you could ask all of your questions up front, and I'll make sure that we capture your questions, and we'll make sure that the right person answers the questions. That'll hopefully avoid some of the back and forth. Second, if I could ask you to kind of direct your questions to ones that you truly believe should be answered by the board or the superintendent, and the ones that we're most qualified to address. A lot of questions about scheduling, attendance, classroom logistics, technology. I would highly suggest that you direct those to your building principal, as they are the ones who have that more intimate knowledge and can probably get you an answer in a more timely basis. And then last, when you are recognized, make sure that your first and last name are in there. You know, some people have just their initials, some people just have like Doug's iPad. If you'll have your full name so we know who you are, and I'll request that you turn on your video like you are at a public meeting so we can address you most appropriately. With that, if anybody wants to start by clicking on the raise your hand, we will begin the recognition process and we'll allow you to begin. The first person I see is Emily Ramos. Emily, good evening.
Hello, you can see me? Okay. Hi, I'm a member of Allies for Racial Equity in Schools. We're looking forward to participating in the diversity committees that Dr. Varley announced back at the June Board of Ed meeting. We're hoping to get more details about these committees now that the school year is underway. First, when are the committees slated to begin, and what will the frequency of the meetings be? And then second, the specific long-term goals or short-term priorities as it relates to racial equity in curriculum, student activities, or staff professional development. We know administration has a lot on its plate with reopening and hybrid learning. We're excited to support the district administration in any way that we can with the diversity and equity efforts. So please let us know how we can support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So 2 questions, Dr. Varley. The first one is on the diversity. When are they starting? What's the frequency of the meeting? And second, talk a little bit more about the long-term goals that you see.
So oddly enough, I just sent on Tuesday or Wednesday, I just sent the benchmarks and timelines to the school principals. So I listed how many parents they will need for each committee, and some will need teachers, some will need students, middle school and high school, or where we're having the most student influence. And so they have that now. So I'm going to send out an email either tomorrow or Monday to the members of my committee to get the process started. And we will definitely have our first meeting by at least October. I've got to get GL open. So by at least October, we'll have our first meeting, and then the elementary meetings will start soon after.
Great, Dr. Varley, thanks very much. Emily, thank you. Next up is Liz Kane. Liz, good evening.
Good evening, hi. This is a question I had previously asked to Dr. Varley, but since there's a lot of talk out there on Facebook and such, I just kind of wanted to reiterate the question here and see, get a more full answer, I guess. I know there's a policy for those students, like both my students we have chosen to send in. We are not full remote, but there are scenarios, it says in the policy that if for a reason they are kind of a little sick or whatever, if they're not in school on a week they should be in school, they will be marked absent, even though if they are well enough, let's say, to attend virtually. So if they were for whatever scenario. And I was just curious if there was a scenario or some way, like say your family is needs to quarantine for some reason for 2 weeks. Is there a way that you could attend school with like a doctor's note or something virtually for that time, or some way of working around it, just so that people aren't feeling like they're being punished or something for being a little bit cautious because you have a cold and not trying to push yourself to go in when we do have that opportunity with the remote learning for some to actually attend school and not be marked absent?
So, you know, you and I went back and forth a little bit about this the other day, and we started out with that whole let's be flexible idea when the hybrid model came about. And then we started getting emails of, well, I would like to rent a house down at the shore for 2 weeks. So can my child be virtual for those 2 weeks and then come in person right after that? And I would really like to sleep in and not go to PE. Can I take the PE class virtually and then come into school after that? Can I take labs in person but do the rest of my classes at virtual? So we knew we had to come up with a strict policy because we have to space our classrooms out. We have to have a general idea of how many students are going to be in our classrooms at any given time. So that's when we made, if you're in person and you're supposed to be in person, then if you're absent, just like you would be on if we were in a normal year, which hopefully we're going to be in a normal year soon, and you were supposed to attend school and you were absent, you would be counted as absent. So we are sticking with that for right now. Now, if you have to quarantine, absolutely. We don't want you to miss 14 days of instruction. So that'd be a different consideration. We would absolutely put you on virtual instruction.
All right, thank you.
Great, thanks, Dr. Varley. The next person I see is Ramya Kasturi. Ramya, good evening.
Hi everyone. My name is Ramya Kasturi, and I have 2 students, a first grader and a 4th grader. I have 2 questions, so I'll just say both of them up front. My first question relates to academic equity. I know the teachers have been putting in a lot of effort to make virtual learning a lot better this semester than it was in the spring, and I really appreciate that. However, in my own personal experience and some of the experiences of the parents that I know, there is already a very large gap in the learning experiences of those students who are virtual and those students who are in the classroom. So given that all of our students are going to be virtual at least 50% of the time, I just wanted to know what steps the district is taking to ensure that all students, whether they're Plan B or Plan C, are receiving the same quality and scope of instruction pursuant to the governor's mandate. My second question relates to mental health. I know that We spoke at length about the mental health of students, and that being one of the reasons why students need to go back to school. And aside from just providing parents with the emails of guidance counselors, I also wanted to know what specific steps the district is taking to provide emotional and social support for students who are either on the remote week or fully remote, and who may be experiencing frustration or anxiety at their inability to fully connect with their teachers and their peers.
Great, thanks, Ramya. So, Dr. Varley, academic equity gap and the mental health for social emotional, mostly around the remote students.
Okay, so I'm going to, I'll have Mr. McKinney talk about academic equity because he's been working with the teachers more so than I have. I was there for part of the demo lessons, but I'll let him handle that. But I will go into the mental health portion. We spent all of last year getting together a social and emotional learning curriculum and guidelines for all of our students. And it was approved at the board meeting, and I think it was May, maybe the curriculum was. And during the summer, our counselors have been working, our school psychologists, everyone across the teachers have been learning about social emotional health and how to reach out and how to give guidance to students. So it is in its infancy stages, but we know we have the buddy system and a mentor system that we are working with, the teachers are working with students, and our counselors are reaching out to students as much as they possibly can to try to help them through this process. If I can remember, I will send you a copy of our curriculum tomorrow so you can see the process and procedures that we put in place.
Great. And Scott, do you want to talk about the achievement gap?
Sure. That's something we're obviously very concerned about and want to do the best job we can. We spent a lot of time, as you mentioned, over the summer planning and preparing to improve what we did in the spring, and feel that we are making significant progress in that area. That said, we are in our 4th day of school. This year poses some additional challenges. Last year, we had already made connections and had that direct contact with our teachers and understood routines and those other issues. This year, we're starting off completely fresh. So we need to develop those connections and we need to develop those routines. And I don't necessarily believe that we've gotten to the meat and potatoes of the providing the curriculum at this point. I mean, we have to establish that. And I would just ask for some additional patience because I know we're going to provide a better product in this blended environment. It does pose some additional challenges, but that said, the teachers are ready to rise to that challenge. And I think it will continue to improve as we move through September.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, great, Scott. Thank you very much. Next up is Julie Lloyd. Julie, good evening.
Hello. I hope all is well and everyone's doing well. This has definitely been a very trying time for all of us. And I appreciate the administration's done a great job working with the teachers and coming up with a plan to teach our kids. I'm a huge supporter of the teachers, but I'm also an advocate for my child. I have a number of things I'd like to highlight. I want to suggest that we have a parent advocacy group set up because we need to have a seat at the table. Given the current situation, more so than ever now, it is critical that we work as a team. We're the ones home with the kids and we're seeing problems with technology and some other issues, so it's imperative that we have a voice. I also like the suggestion of the student involvement as Brianna had recommended. I really want my kid to go back to school full day. I want to work toward that end. Our children need to be learning at full capacity. I believe that many teachers worked the administration on various committees over the summer and plans on opening, and I was surprised at the article Tap Into about the request from the teachers, especially the Board of Ed, when the Board of Ed finalized the Plan B option. I'm very concerned the unions are pushing the teachers to keep moving the goalposts. In that article, a little over 53% of teachers signed it, so there's 47% of teachers who did not sign it. If we take these unions out of this, what would the requirements really be for our teachers? Listen, I know the teachers care about our students and they want to get back to teaching, doing what they love. As well, I know the parents care about the teachers. I believe there has to be a way for us to come together and come to a compromise. In the article, there were 3 main concerns. So I've done some homework on the MERV 13 filters that the teachers union is requesting. I know the MERV 13 filters are used in hospitals, and I believe that most schools are unable to use it with the Univent system. I also know the administration has done a ton of work on the fans in the school and the airflow with opening windows and doors and such. I think it would be beneficial if the administration shared with us all that you've done to ensure that our schools have the best ventilation. As for the district ensuring the classrooms, bathrooms, etc. are cleaned, I heard they're doing a very good job maintaining that with the help of the teachers. One suggestion is that to ask the students to help clean the desks, both when they come in and when they leave. I think that's a pretty easy problem to solve. As for the vaccine, I think that is pretty unrealistic. What if the vaccine doesn't get approved until late next year? Will we not be going back to school full-time until then? I'm truly concerned for our children's mental wellness. As a district, we should be concerned about the mental health of our children. I'm sure that you've seen the unfortunate tragedies in New Providence, and we need to be proactive to prevent more tragedies. This is something we should be aware of. Our kids need to be in school with their friends. I appreciate that each school has its own set of circumstances. For example, Mary Kay and elementary schools have different needs and requirements than Columbia and high school. So I have a few concerns about what's happening with Columbia. I know, Doug, that you wanted me to wait on this, and I can still have this conversation with Mr. Geiger, but I thought it was important to highlight here. First concern is that I've heard that there are a number of technology issues. Maybe we should survey at the end of each class how the audiovisual worked during that class. It could just be 3 questions, and each kid can sort of survey themselves and get back to and explain what needs to get fixed. Second, I did some back of the envelope numbers on total number of minutes of full instruction. Currently, each day, Columbia Middle School has 4 full classes in the AM. Some are remote and some are in school. Then they leave, go home for lunch. That afternoon is considered EP, that enrichment period. It is 4 half-hour classes where the students can get help from the teacher. This is not instructional learning. When I look at the amount of this abbreviated schedule, minutes of instruction. Prior to COVID, we had 7,425 minutes of instruction. Clearly, you cannot cover the same amount of curriculum in this compressed amount of time. As a parent of an 8th grader, we've experienced the schedule during the spring, and for all intents and purposes, my child has and had and still has a half a day. This cannot continue. We need to utilize every hour for the benefit of our children. I have 3 suggestions I'd like to make. Number 1 is take each half-hour window in the afternoon and require the students to be actively engaged in learning curriculum presented by the teacher. Second is we have 6 classes a day, each 55 minutes, just like the high school. Just take those minutes in the afternoon and create 2 classes of 55. Third suggestion is to have each class be about 1 hour and 25 minutes and have 4 classes a day. That would potentially help issues with technology for the first 10 minutes. Then you can really learn and dig deep into the subject matter. In conclusion, my biggest concern is that the educational needs of the students are not being met with the current model. I implore you to give the parents a seat at the discussion table. While I recognize it's only been 4 days and we will continue to learn and improve as we go, this is Berkeley Heights and we need to work together to do better. Thank you.
Julie, thank you very much. Julie, I know you said part of that is for Columbia. I assume that you will share that with
Yep.
Mr. Geiger,
I will.
and obviously he can work with you towards resolution of a number of your suggestions. Great, thank you, Julie. Next up is Chris Wang. Chris, good evening.
Good evening. Thanks to the board and thanks to the administration and teachers. We feel like everyone's doing a great job in a very fluid situation. My question is really, I know Dr. Varley had mentioned, I think last month, that she's in Chatham, and I know that the kids in elementary there are going every day, so they're on Plan A. So my question is really, what guidelines or what benchmarks really need to be made, and how will our Board of Ed make the decision to go from a B to an A over time? And how often is that decision being evaluated?
So I can tell you that I met with a bunch of superintendents this morning, and we felt that our next step, well, my next step right now is getting GL open, but the next step would be to go for a full day with half the students so that we're able to space them out and have lunch and all that, and then move to a Plan A. We just move straight into full day, all kids in, once we hit the milestones that we're supposed to hit. So right now, I would say our next step is GL. The step after that is full day, A week, B week. That's our plan right at this moment.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Varley. Thank you, Chris. The next person shows up as S. Pangus. As you come on and turn on your video, if you can just let us know what your first name is.
Hello? Can you see me?
I cannot see you. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh, weird. Oh, here it goes. Hold on. Start my video. Hi.
Now I can see you. First of all, what's your first name?
It's Sue.
Sue, good evening. Welcome.
Hi.
I can see you and I can hear you now.
Technology works, yes. See, perfect example. There are some glitches. I can appreciate that our teachers are really working in a new normal. There's a struggle here, different than the spring was, in that we were all remote and it was a little easier. And now they're working with partial remote kids, some fully remote, etc. So my question is there some sort of formal mechanism where the, because by grade, I have a 4th grader and a 6th grader. And, at the end of the day, it's the curriculum that's driving those grades. Is there any formal process for within the school? I'm in Mountain Park in Columbia, where they can share best practices, and then also within the scope of the full grade, so they can share best practices across the 6th grade, across the 4th grade, what's working, what's not working. Aside from technology glitches, and we're really only in week 1, and I know there's a ramp up, and I'm super patient with the teachers. I think they're doing a lot, and I understand that, but I just think I'd feel better knowing there is a way that they're all communicating, hey, this really worked well, I reached a lot of students, this is something we should all be doing. So I just wanted to know if there was something formally in place.
Yes, so the teachers all have team meetings or department meetings where they discuss things that went well, things that didn't go well. We had a few collaborative sessions during the summer where teachers some would be in the classroom and some would be on Zoom, and they would brainstorm on ways to fix should we use a document camera, or should we use this, or how about if we use this? And so yes, they're constantly, it's a work in progress. This is something they've never done before, but they are sharing best practices and working together to come up with the best way to educate all of our children.
Great. Thank you.
Great, Sue. Thank you very much. The next person I see is Sai Bagarvi. Sai, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Doug.
Sai, if you could just turn on your camera.
Actually, I dropped my camera, so I'm having some issues with the camera. Is that okay if I speak with just the mic?
That's okay.
Yeah. So I'm following up on thanks to everyone. I wanted to first thank all the teachers for doing a tremendous job at welcoming the kids, and it's week 2. Looks like everybody has adjusted from technical difficulties and, adapting to the new normal. I'm just following up on my question from a previous, I think, BOE meeting that I had asked, and I was told, so how are we, so when the kids come back to the schools after going remote in spring, and then, so the question was, how are we evaluating if there were any gaps from a previous grade? So if my daughter was in 3rd grade and then they were remote for like almost over 6 weeks. So how are we evaluating if all the curriculum was if the kids retained the information, and not just the regular kids, but the kids with IEPs. And I was advised that this is being looked at by the special services group and also Mr. McKinney. So now that the school has started, are we planning on giving them some sorts of evaluation, and when will this start?
So I will let Mr. McKinney jump in, but I do know that, right now the benchmarking hasn't started yet, but I will let Mr. McKinney give more details than that.
Sure, and as we've discussed at the prior meetings, we will be doing internal benchmarking to evaluate where the students are as compared to where we believe they should be starting their current grade levels. We are the principals have been working with Ms. Kopaz to determine a schedule for that. We are waiting to establish those classroom routines. We don't want to interrupt the community building and those things that have to take place naturally at the beginning of the year. But beginning with next week, I would anticipate that a lot of this benchmarking will be taking place, and we will be measuring, what we need to do, and that will match up with our curriculum and our grade level meetings, where we will then devise plans and strategies to fill those gaps. So the short answer is this is going to begin in the very near future, and actions will be taken shortly after that to help remedy those situations.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great, thanks, Scott. I don't see anybody else with their hand raised. I'll pause for a second to allow it. And of course, as I say that, Aaron Brittle, let me promote you.
Hi, Doug. Can you hear me?
I can. Aaron, good evening. Welcome.
Hi, thanks. Oh, sorry, I did it a little late right after you said it. Yeah, no, thank you guys for everything that you have been doing. I'm sure it's been really crazy. Yes, a lot of technical issues at Mountain Park for my 5th grader, but we are working with Mr. Moriso and the teacher, and I feel like they've been really responsive, so that's great, and obviously it's early. I am concerned about that, so I'm just gonna keep my eye on that. But what I really just wanted to echo was Julie's statement, which I would love to also be part of some type of parent group, so we can also tell you the problems that we're seeing at home, because I'm actually sitting with Everett, my 5th grader, for the whole day, and he just needs it. He has to be sat with the whole time. So I think I could be a good person to help from the parent way to tell you what we're dealing with as well. And then I have an 8th grader and I also have a preschooler. So I have a broad range. So just wanted to say that I hope that if you guys start, I already have a few people that are interested in this. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we are interested in helping in that way and being creative and using our own backgrounds to help you guys as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Aaron.
No problem.
Donna, before I move forward, one of the things I'm looking back at my notes, Donna, Julie asked in her comments if you could talk a little bit about, I think she had a question there about some of the improvements we've made over the summer as it relates to ventilation and some of the things that we've done. Can you just address some of the things that we've done? You mentioned something about the fans, but can you just talk a little bit more about that? Because that was one of the questions I don't think we properly answered with Julie's question.
Sure. Actually, we started this in the spring. We started thinking about what are the things that we have to do to improve the air quality in the school. And to improve the air quality, we had to improve the airflow. We had to increase the airflow into the buildings. We started with the rooftop fans. We did an evaluation of all of the fans at all of the schools. We kind of categorized them into things that our own custodial maintenance staff could do, areas where we had to bring in an outside contractor to make repairs, and then we identified fans that had to be replaced. So we've done a lot of improvements to bring fresh air into the school and into the classrooms through the rooftop fans. Additionally, in each school, the custodial staff serviced each univent and they replaced the filters. We're using the filters that are appropriate for the univents. It's the manufacturer's the recommended filters. We did all of that before school started. We work with Synergistics, which is an outside energy management company, and they have scheduled everything so that the univents in the classrooms go on 2 hours before school starts, and they stay on 2 hours after school ends. So again, that's bringing fresh air into the classroom before the students get there, and then it's moving the air through the classrooms even when they're gone. We're recommending that the windows be open, air conditioners are on and surprisingly classroom doors open. That's always been such a no-no for schools, but right now that's the recommendation, to have all the doors open. So we've really been paying attention to monitoring the air quality in the schools.
Great, Donna, thank you very much. There are a lot of things that we're doing, so thank you for sharing that. Next up is Todd Najarian. Todd, good evening.
Good evening, Doug. I hope you can hear me. Thank you, everyone. Doug, I just had one question, and there's been a few parents that have touched on it this evening, and clearly there are some concerns. Obviously, technology, and I think all the teachers deserve a big thank you for all the effort being put forward, and there are challenges. However, one question I did have, and it really is directed to everyone here on screen, the board and the administrators. Have any of you actually sat on the morning Zooms or any of the web classes as the remote students do? I feel that it's very telling, and I think there would be great guidance provided if you all attended and observed what we as parents and what the students are observing. I think there's a lot of concerns still out there. I think they can be addressed, but they have to be observed to be addressed. And I just think that there would be an opportunity to do that. So I'd just like to ask, has anyone done that? And what was your experience?
Dr. Raleigh?
So I will answer. I have not personally, but my supervisors have. And we also, as I said earlier, we've had a lot of teachers who have done the Zoom part while another teacher taught the classroom. So they have seen it, and they have been working together to collaborate to make it better for the remote students.
Okay.
No one else has?
Todd, this is Chris. I have not looked over my friend's children's shoulder, but I have several friends who have kids in the high school and the middle school, and I have been communicating with them pretty much every day, asking them what their experience has been. And, some of the things that have been raised tonight, I've heard before. The high school experience in terms of the people I'm talking to, and these are women who are fortunately at home, and so they are supervising their kids. And my advice has been to them, especially the first couple of weeks, try to be looking over their shoulder as much as possible to provide feedback as to what you're seeing happening with your child's experience. So I have not done that myself, but I have been communicating with parents directly.
Great, thanks, Chris. And Todd, I would just answer that for myself. I haven't sat on any of them as my children are not in the schools, but I can tell you I get a great deal of feedback. I guess today is day 6 of kids in school, and I have received a number of emails and talked with a number of parents in this first week about that. I've heard a number of good things and some good examples, but I have also heard where and you've heard some of the parents talk about some of our technology concerns. I think it's a work in progress. I'm excited when we get the microphones and the speakers from the Ed Foundation grant. I think that will be a step change in terms of that experience, but we will continue to do that. And I think Dr. Raleigh's point about having our supervisors doing exactly what you just said, which is get that firsthand experience. To your point, there's nothing like that firsthand experience. I can tell you I heard secondhand or thirdhand from somebody, but it's not the same as that firsthand experience. So we'll make sure that we're getting that as much of that firsthand experience as we can.
Yeah, I would implore you all to take a moment, try. I think it's valuable. I know I have young children, one at MKM and one at Woodruff. One is fantastic, the other is struggling, and I think that there's always opportunity, and I think it's valuable to see what's happening at all levels, at all schools, and not just one teacher for one grade. Thank you.
Okay, I have grandchildren in 4th grade and 6th grade. I've not seen it myself because I work, but both of the kids felt that it was a little better. They said okay when I asked them, and they felt it was a little more responsive than in the spring. But it is a work in progress, and thank you.
And Todd, I have a high schooler, and I actually have looked in on her Zoom meetings, and the same as some of the other parents. Some have been better, some need obviously need more work. The one thing I will say that my students said is that spending all day on Zoom is quite exhausting. So they are excited to be getting back to the classroom.
Yeah, and I was going to add to that. I have children and I haven't watched it, but I've listened to it. At the end of the day, the teachers haven't been trained to teach this way, and our children haven't been raised to learn this way. So remote learning is not ideal from my perspective. I think some teachers are a little more engaging than others. I also think having 3 kids, some kids are doing a better job learning this way than others. But at the end of the day, the reality of it is they're going to learn better with that teacher interaction in the classroom. And I'm not quite sure virtual is ever going to replace that.
I appreciate your comment there. And I would actually just say that, yes, I fully agree that remote learning is never going to replace in-person learning. However, it is what we have. And the fact that you acknowledge teachers haven't been trained, I do feel that maybe that's an area that should be looked into. And, you know, if teachers are struggling, maybe we can get them some help. And I do appreciate the fact that we are getting microphones and speakers, and that all will help. And it is a work in progress. But, you know, to acknowledge that, I appreciate that. But I'd like to know, hopefully you guys will do something about it as well, because the teachers need our support, and we're here to support them, and all of you. Thank you.
Great. All right, great. Thanks.
And also, just to,
Go ahead, Mike.
if I could just add, please. Thank you. No, as I said before in other board meetings, I'm also now a parent of a 2nd grader, 5th grader, and 6th grader. So Todd, I have not sat indirectly heard, and do agree. A lot of comments made tonight by a lot of the residents. I had some of the same concerns and feedback too, and I'm appreciative of the residents speaking out on that. So yes, I do agree. There's some great things, some areas of improvement, area of challenges as we're all learning through this. So yes, involved with that as you're at.
Great, thank you to all the board members for chiming in with your experience. Next up is Jean Kingsley. Jean, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. And I have to apologize because I had a conflict, so I just recently chimed in. So if I'm repeating something that's already been said, I will apologize. I am the parent of a freshman at GL. So I would like to give kudos to all of the staff at the high school, because I know it was hard to switch to the fully remote model so fast. And I recognize we're only 4 days in. But I think it's working very well. And what I like about what's happening in the high school is it's a full day. So they are experiencing their entire schedule. And the teacher is only focused on the Zoom. So I have tethered myself to my child, and I am home and attending basically classes next to him for every day right now to make sure that he's interactive and learning. And the teachers really are engaged, and it's a level playing field because the whole class is doing one thing. And so I think it's, we have to worry about the socialization as well. I'm concerned with if we switch to the switch schedule, the AB schedule, if it's not going to be full day, I'm really concerned about how these kids are going to get through all the curriculum that they need to learn. So, we haven't gotten details yet on what's going to happen with the in-person, but I just, hats off to the teachers. I think, at least at the high school, where I know it's tough for the kids to sit still. At lunchtime, I let my son go run around or do Xbox or whatever, but the teachers are really doing a good job of engaging, and I really feel like it's a nice level playing field. So they're doing a good job in a difficult situation. So thank you.
Great, Jean, thanks very much. Next up is Karen Ciccoli. Karen, good evening. Karen, you just need to come off mute.
Thanks. I have a quick question. A lot of my friends' children attend private schools, and those kids get to go to in-person class every day. How can we achieve that here at the public school level? And what's the difference? Because those schools are in Summit, Bernardsville, they're all in and around our area. And I saw the mayor, I think, posted we have 1 COVID case in Berkeley Heights. 1. And our kids, I have a child at GL, Columbia, and William Woodruff School. And, you know, it's hit or miss as far as the Zoom and technology. And I'm just envious of all my friends who have the kids in full day school.
Dr. Rowell, you want to talk about?
Yeah, so generally smaller schools are able to space children out further. The governor said that we had to, he updated his guidance that we had to create 6 feet of distance and have mask wearing at all times. Our classrooms, some of them were built in 1930, some of them were built in 1940. We don't have the large classrooms where we can space out. Some of our students, we have 25 kids in a class. We can't space them 6 feet apart. So we are held to different guidelines and we have larger class sizes.
What about the great outdoors?
Yeah. Well, we did try to purchase 2 tents, but the DOE told us that it was a fire hazard. And so we are not allowed to use tents anymore. And pretty soon, we do have teachers taking children outside right now, but we don't have the outdoor classroom space.
Seems like a shame, especially going into some beautiful fall weather out back, like at GL. I feel like we could space kids out. I don't understand that as a parent.
Yeah, it's just not something we can put all classes outside due to weather, due to anything. We just don't have the outside classroom space. We were going to try to do it at some of our buildings with tents, but the DOE said we cannot do that.
Okay, that's a shame. I took a quick tour of GL when my son was heading into it in the spring, and it looked like there was a lot of space, and with a little bit of outdoor space and creativity, we could do a little bit better than having the kids in their bedrooms.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, Karen. With that, not seeing anybody else, I'm going to end the citizens hearing. Thank you to those who participated tonight. We'll move forward with the rest of the board's agenda. The first item up is administration. Let me make a comment before we just get to the item on administration. For anybody that's following along, there are 4 items listed under administration on the agenda. There are 2 additional items that are going to be included that are not on the public agenda. And the reason for that is the board this evening, just before this public session, needed to conduct an HIB investigation that was appealed to the board. And the board will be voting during this item on those 2 items. So there's going to be a 14E and a 14F. And I'll just read them briefly for full transparency. 14E says, it's recommended that the Board of Education hereby affirm the superintendent's determination regarding HIB case number 206689. And letter F says, under HIB investigation, it's recommended that the Board of Ed hereby affirm the superintendent's determination regarding HIB case number 208202. And obviously, those are case numbers in the need to protect the confidentiality of student information. So with that, can I have a recommendation or a motion for administration item 14?
Yeah, I'll move 14A through F.
And I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Penna?
Yes for items A through E and no for F.
Mr. D'Aquila?
Yes for items A through D and abstain for E and F.
Mr. Joya?
Yes for A through C. I don't vote on D, and I'll abstain on E and F.
Ms. Riley?
Yes for items A through E and no for item F.
Mr. Casano?
Yes.
Dr. Cristanino?
Yes on all items.
Mrs. Kirsch?
Yes.
Mr. Reinstein?
Yes. Education item 15.
I move items A through, A through B.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Penna,
Yes.
Mr. D'Aquila,
Yes.
Mr. Joya,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Casano,
Yes.
Dr. Chrisanino,
Yes.
Mrs. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reinstein.
Yes. Personnel item 16.
I move items 16A through double H.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would just want to say that items A through double H, the administration has done a fantastic job of lining up substitutes, lining up replacement teachers, lining up additional periods, and I'm just super impressed with everything they've been able to handle. So thank you.
I second that.
Absolutely.
And thank you to our team. And it's not just our team here. It is our team of supervisors and principals also who've done all that work as well. So thank you. Roll call.
Okay, Mrs. Penna,
Yes.
Mr. D'Aquila,
Yes.
Mr. Joya,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Casano,
Yes.
Dr. Chrisanino,
Yes.
Mrs. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reinstein.
Yes. Item 17, business.
I'll move my items, business A through H.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Penna,
Yes.
Mr. D'Aquila,
Yes.
Mr. Joya,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Casano,
Yes.
Dr. Chrisanino, Mrs. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reinstein.
Yes, and let me just make one other comment. Under the one that we just voted on, there is a very generous donation from the PTO at Hughes of slightly under $16,000. And as we talked about in the past, we have a tremendous partnership with the PTOs. They give us an enormous amount of hours and energy and time and enthusiasm, not only, and $16,000 in this case at Hughes. So to those parents in the Hughes PTO and to the others, it's what makes the Berkeley Heights ecosystem as good as it is. So our thanks to, in this case, to Hughes. And we get these letters throughout the year. I'm sure we'll get them from the other schools as well. 18 business, I'm sorry, 18 finance.
Yes, I move item A. I reviewed the bills this month and all looked in order.
And I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Penna,
Yes.
Mr. D'Aquila,
Yes.
Mr. Joya,
Yes.
Ms. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Casano,
Yes.
Dr. Chrisanino,
Yes.
Mrs. Kirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Reinstein.
Yes. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening?
I just have a question. At a previous Board of Ed meeting, I raised a question about our hiring practices and reviewing our policies to make sure that we had, the right kind of outreach looking for diverse candidates. And I just wanted to know where that stands and whether or not there would be some kind of agenda item in the future on that.
So tonight you agreed with the Teachers College of Columbia for our partnership. So we are now allowed to post to their job sites, which has a broader outreach than our local area. So you should start to see a difference in our outreach coming soon. We have already posted all of our positions that we have right now. Our anticipated openings have already been posted to their website.
But we do have a formal policy, though, regarding hiring. Do we not?
We do.
Yeah. So I'm just asking that we review that and make sure that, the language supports what we're doing.
Okay, absolutely.
To Chris's point, and I had brought this up in Mountainside recently also, I personally do feel that if you allowed teachers from potential candidates from surrounding districts to have their children come to school within district. It'd be a way of attracting a wider variety of teachers. And I just throw that out there. I do think that's a way to engage potential teachers and candidates that are qualified from surrounding districts that may not be interested in coming here otherwise.
Great, thanks, Dante. Any other comments or business before the board? With that, I will take a motion to adjourn. We are back here on Thursday, October 8th. And thank you for everybody for attending tonight. Have a good rest of the night.